into a trance, he will ask the deity. And the deity will say, okay, you will now have to get another election and sort it out among yourselves. That could be an advice. Or he could have just said, okay, you have to get rid of this fella, or something like that. So, although we have a legal structure, the legal structure is still taking advice from the traditional shaman or the traditional monk, the chief monk, whoever it is. Okay? So the legal structure is just to adhere to the laws of the country. But there is a parallel structure which is not within the legal framework, which is the de facto power. Which is the de facto power. So this is the second difference. And the third difference is, of course, the rules of succession. I have already talked about this. Okay, the Baha'i faith has a covenant. The Taoist religion, there is no covenant. There is no covenant. So anything goes. There is no covenant. And that's why today there are so many Taoist denominations and sects. And every temple, every altar is almost always very different from another altar that you go to in another house or in another temple. That's because there is no covenant. So the Chinese religion, in a way, is very personal, you know, and if you have a certain power, you can set up your own temple. And you can adopt the deity, your favorite deities. You don't have to adopt the deity that your father adopted. You can adopt your own deity. And if you have lots of followers, well, it means you're a success. You can even have branches after that. So that's the third one. And the fourth one, the fourth difference is that it is still very much a personal leadership. I know that the Baha'is have a collective leadership. It is ruled by a committee. There are committees in Taoism. For example, the Taoist Federation and the Taoist Association, there are committees. There are committees to fit the rule, the legal requirement by the incorporated status. You need to have committees, but as I said before, these are just de jure ones. They are not de facto ones. So the leadership is still very charismatic. If the monk is very famous and you'll have a big following, or if the medium is very effective, the temple will have a very big following. There's always a long queue. So it is still very much personality based. Even if it's a society, and they have a committee, well, usually they will have the founder's photograph on the wall of the building. All right. For example, you remember that I showed you a slide of the home altar of my friend. You noticed that there were two photographs on either side of the altar. Well, the photographs were the founders of that particular Taoist denomination. And now we go on to the fifth one, the fifth difference. And I will just talk about 5 differences. Let me just quickly recap. The first difference is that there is a clergy. The second difference is that the leaders, there are 2 parallel leaders. Number 3, the succession. There is no covenant. Number 4, leadership tends to be charismatic rather than collective. And number 5, I would say that the distinct difference between the Chinese religion and the Baha'i faith in terms of leadership and succession is the fact that Taoist Chinese religion is very concerned about personal well-being, personal salvation. Well-being not just on this world, but also in the next world. It is about yourself, your soul, about the Tao, following the Tao, being in synchrony with the workings of the Tao. Whereas for the Baha'is, I know that they are very much more concerned, not just with personal salvation, but also with social salvation, with the well-being of society and that they have a blueprint for the world at large. They have a blueprint for the new world order. Well, I don't see this in the Chinese religion. Thank you very much.